Hello my friends, and welcome to Trash Craft Tuesday, when I take an item of rubbish, something that often gets turfed out in either the recycling bin or the rubbish bin, and do something creative with it for our journals, or if you're a journaler, for your own journal. Okay, so for today I am heavily inspired by Rachel from Rachel and Bella Crafts. In the Christmas Craft Off 23 collaboration, which I've just participated in, she made a project, a flippy flappy folio type thing with used greeting cards, and I'm not making what she made, but I am definitely inspired by the way she used greeting cards. So mine's kind of a simpler version, if you like, and I wouldn't call it a folio, although you could easily turn it into a folio if you choose. So for my project today, I've grabbed out 4 used greeting cards. It does not matter if they've got writing on the back. 3 of them, I've just got the fronts, so the backs have been trimmed off. And then I've got one here that is intact. And I'm going to deal with this one first because I might forget what I want to do with it otherwise. So I'm going to open it out, and I want to trim down the front of it by just a little bit. So no set measurement, I'm just going to choose about there. Okay, that could be a fun scrap for a cluster or something. Right, so I've done that, and I've got this bit sticking out. So what I want to do now is round the corners on all of these. So I'm going to round the corner on the back bit and the front bit, just because. And then I'm going to round the corners on these as well. I'm only doing the outside edge. I'm using a punch board because I find it gives me a nicer finish than my corner rounder, but you can use a corner rounder, or you could choose not to round at all. Or you could snip them, just to give them an angle with scissors, whatever you prefer. Okay, so that's the 2 together. Now, if you don't have a card that's intact like this, you can just either leave it out or add another card base. You just won't have a pocket. This is going to be a pocket. So it doesn't matter, you know, you can put this in or not. So now I'm going to round the outside corners of all of our pieces. Just make sure they've all been trimmed up, they're nice and straight, no scrappy bits left on the edges where they might have been perhaps torn off their backs. Oops, yep, that did cut through, felt like it wasn't coming out. And last one here. You could do all 4 corners if you like, but oops, sorry about that, banging and crashing. I'm just choosing to do the 2 outside corners. All right, to pick up all the scraps. Okay, now where did I? Here they are. I am also going to be using whale tail punches. I haven't got the actual punch. This is a digital from Artzology with pages and pages of different designs of whale tails that you just fussy cut out. I have made a template so I can create my own from scrapbook paper or magazine paper, whatever. But for this, I am just choosing to use ones that I've got printed off, just for quick and easy. So I'm just going to pop those aside because we don't need them quite yet. Okay, next up is to compose how you want your pieces to fit together. So first I need to turn them all around the right way. And I've basically decided you can do this with any sized cards. I like them to be slightly different in size. So I think that one there, this one next, and then this one will be our outside cover. Okay, so I've basically got an idea of how I want them to be. Now, I did mean to actually back most of these off camera, and I forgot. I totally forgot. So maybe I'll do the first one, pop you on pause, do the rest, because you really don't need to watch all of them being done, do you? But just to show you how I do it, I've modified the way I do it just a little bit, because normally I do glue stick and then I go in with my tacky glue and then I glue it down. And it's a great technique, but I was finding that by the time you get the tacky glue on, the glue stick's actually drying a little bit and you do end up with more bubbles than the way I'm going to do it now. So it's just a very slight variation, but I think it results in a much nicer finish. So first off, I'm going to cover the middle with glue stick. Good coating. Glue it down to my, in this case I'm using brown paper bag. You could use whatever you like, but in the interest of it being Trash Craft Tuesday, I'm using recycled materials wherever possible. I could, you know, by using recycled materials, I could make my own tabs. And they don't need to be tabs. You could just do paper strips. You just cut yourself rectangles. But it's like, well, I don't want the video to be too long if I sit here cutting out individual whale tail punch or tabs to use. You just need to know that you've got options and what you can use or might want to do. I wish they still had the whale tail punch. In my mind, it was a big miss that they stopped producing it. I hadn't even found it while it was still out there. You can occasionally pick up a second-hand one, but I haven't been so fortunate. I've seen them and I've always been too late to purchase when I've seen them come up second-hand. And sometimes people want the earth for them because, you know, you can no longer get them. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going around and getting glue, the tacky glue on the edges now. Just an edge at a time, smoothing it down, and I find I get far less bubbling underneath. And then last side, I think I've done all the sides. I was so busy talking, I wasn't even letting you know what I was doing. And so there was a seam down here, so I think that's all glued down well enough now. Okay, so that's all down, and I can go in and I'm just going to loosely cut it out first. I'm not going to be covering anything with that. That'll just be collage material now. Come in and trim around it. Now if you want, you can cover it and then punch your corners. I find it just as easy to just cut around the backing paper around the corners, and it punches nicely through my punch with just the card fronts rather than the paper on the back as well. And you've got a nice firm card to run your scissors alongside of, which helps you cut around those corners. You know, cutting corners can be a bad thing, and sometimes it's a good thing. So cutting your corners here is a good thing. Okay, let's get rid of my scraps. So there we go. There's one already covered and ready to go. Now, if you've got writing on the back, do consider what you cover your backs with. That if you want to disguise it, use a paper that's of a certain thickness that you won't see the writing, or that it will obscure it enough that it's not readable. Okay, so I've done that one. I'm going to pop you on pause and go ahead and do the others. So on these three, it'll be just the back of the, you know, the bits that are single pieces, and then on this one, just the back of this. So this will, in fact, why don't I do it now so I don't forget? Let's just glue this together now. It'll probably make it easier to deal with when it comes to covering it. So I'm just going to glue up the sides to make our pocket. And I should have distressed that before I glue it down, so let's quickly just do that edge. It's not hugely noticeable, but it is done. Right, you don't have to ink it. Absolutely, it's just what I like to do, so don't feel you have to. Right, so I will be back when these are backed. It shouldn't take too long. And I'm back. So I have backed all of my pieces of card, and I've inked all around front and back so that you didn't need to sit there and watch me do that. And we're ready for the next stage. I also chose out a number of tabs that I wanted to use, and I have inked around those as well, just on the front side. Okay, I like to construct this from the back to the front. I don't know why, you don't really need to, but this is just the way that I've found that I like to do it. So I'm going to fold my tabs here in half. So just 2 for a start. And I'm going to take my next piece of card just for eyeballing, and it's going to sit like this. And you want a slight gap, just a very slight gap in between them. And we're going to hinge them with our tabs and make them a tab bound little flippy doodah. Well, I don't know what I'm calling it. Flippy doodah works for now. So I'm going to take my tab here, one of them, and if there's a way you want to pop it around, then have a think about that. This doesn't really matter. And I'm going to glue 1/2, and I'm not going to go right up to the crease line. I want to just bring it back by just a touch. And then I'm going to lay it. Think about 2 where you want to lay it on your card, so that that crease line lays over the edge of the card by a smidge, and I'm really talking a smidge. Okay, it looks good. Hopefully you can see well enough kind of the distances I'm talking about and how it works. But please, if you have any questions or need to see something a bit clearer, let me know in comments, and I might have to do like a close-up video or something, which is entirely possible. And so I think I'll go right down the bottom here. When you're working with different sizes, do be aware of where the bottom of your tab fits on terms of your other card if it's smaller, because it will be visible. Not the end of the world if it is visible, but right, so I'm happy with that. Just making sure that that spacing is straight between the two. Now I'm going to do the same thing here on the other sides of the tabs. Again, not going right up to that crease line with the glue. And then I'm going to fold that one down, and this one. Looks good and straight. Cool. So we have done our first ones together. And then that just folds up. And so when you've got that wee gap, it just allows it to fold very neatly and lay flat. Whether it's closed or whether it's open, it lays very nicely. Okay, the next one is our pocket one that I'm going to put next. So I'm going to line it up again. Now I need to leave a similar gap, but maybe just a tad bigger, because it's now got 2 layers here that it's having to fold up on. But around about the same gap, line it up where you want it. They don't have to be centered. You could do you know, stagger them. I'll show you my prototype when I've got this together, which is a staggered one. So I think I'll go with these ones, fold them up again. Right. Now the trick here is to not put the tabs in exactly the same place as the other tabs. Otherwise you're going to end up with like bulky bits, and you're going to end up with gapping where it kind of pulls apart in the middle, if you know what I mean, because there's nothing holding it there. So again, just working with the design on your card, bearing that in mind as to what you want to cover or not cover. So I will lose a little bit of a flower, and that's okay. About there. So these ones are going to be closer together. Sorry, I'm probably gluing off camera. To fit the foot of the tripod in to where I wanted it, I've had to push my chair back from the desk a little bit, and so I'm conscious that I'm probably a little bit far away at times from where I need to be. I might just put my seat back up, and that will encourage me to sit upright a bit more, a bit closer in. So I do apologise if you've been watching this and it's like, I can't see what you're doing. It happens, doesn't it? It's not what we want to do when we're filming a video, but it does happen. Right, so again, just gluing that and folding it down. You could use glue stick, but I like the security of the tacky glue. I know it's going to hold, and it's going to hold well. Oh, my nose is dripping. Please excuse me for one moment. It's a really, really lovely day here. Third day in a row of sunshine and warm temperatures, and I'm just so loving it. So good after being cold for so long. I hope this beautiful weather sticks around. Right, I might actually use my mat here to help me. I haven't been using it so far to help line up, and I don't quite know why, but on to our last one, and I suddenly like, oh, I should be using the lines on my mat. Right, so next tabs. Oops, distracted by glue. Wouldn't be a me video if I wasn't distracted by something, particularly if it's on my fingers. Sounds like there's a whole bunch of motorbikes going down the main road. Okay, I might go at the bottom again, right at the bottom. So quite important to alternate where you put your tabs, and you can completely go random if you like, and you know, I could put one in the middle, and I was tempted to, but I decided not to. But I think I possibly should have. And you can do, shall we do actually 3? Let's see if I can find that particular paper and do a third one. There's no reason why we can't do a third one. There we go. That's off the same design. Let's just quickly ink it up, because everything else is inked, so we don't want this one to stand out because it's not. Oops. This side, or maybe I'll do this side. So I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are, whatever the weather is doing. I hope it's a good one. So in this one, I'm going to put 3. And you need to use at least 2 tabs, but you could go 3, you could even go 4 if you wanted, if you're using like strips of paper. Just depends on what aesthetic you want. Just remembering you can just use a plain strip of whatever paper you like, will work just as well. I just like the style detail of the shape here. Adds a little something extra, I feel. Right, so I can definitely feel the dip between the height of these and how low that one is. It's really starting to be noticeable in doing the tabs. Almost need something underneath it. So can I just pop that under there? Yep, that'll work. Just need to make sure I keep things straight. Right. And when you flip it, everything should lay nice and flat. Cool. And then I've got, because I used tabs that were white on the back, I've got white showing, so I'm just going in along and putting a bit of ink on those to blend them in, like so. Okay, now one final touch, which is not entirely necessary, and maybe we need, because I've added that extra one on that other page, we might need an extra one on the outside. I want that bit. Is to put tabs on the outside. Now I did on my prototype encounter an issue with putting tabs on the outside, so I'm going to try a different method and see whether it works a bit better. So on my prototype I attached the tabs with it open, so like flip it over, so I put them on like that, and then when I folded it back up I found that it pulled quite tightly, and one of them is probably going to tear because it was the first one I pulled on, so the glue had dried and it didn't move at all, so I think it has torn just at one little point. So I think it's better, and this is what I'm going to try, is to put them on with it closed. And you'll get another issue, but I believe it's not an issue of structure. It's rather an issue of aesthetic or, I don't know, something, but not something that'll affect the structure. And we don't want it falling apart, preferably. Go to a lot of trouble to make these things. You don't want them falling apart. Right, so again, I'm going to stay away from that crease, because that's going to need to move. It needs to be able to open and shut, so we don't want to glue in that crease. And I just got the glue a bit close there. Right. So I'm going to start in the middle, I think, because then I can sort of evenly space them out. Wrap it around the edge there. I'll go oops. Hopefully that's okay. Yeah, so we're getting a little peak here when it's open flat, which is the other issue, but I'm just pushing down to flatten it out so it's basically folds to one side, which means that you're still laying flat, can still write in there or do whatever you like in there without any issue, but when you close it, it's not pulling and buckling and or tearing, which is definitely what we don't want. So it actually worked even better than I thought. I thought it was going to look a bit ugly on the outside with those bits that kind of stick out when you lay it flat. But actually, I think they're quite okay. And you may have noticed the theme of what I'm using. All the cards are floral themed. Because this will go in the giveaway journal that I'm making for reaching 1,000 subscribers. So I'll be doing a video probably Wednesday, I think, on how you can partake in that giveaway. I'm making the journal, so the actual journal won't be ready for a bit, but I'll give you instructions on how to enter that, what you need to do, and then you can follow the journey along with making of the prize. Right, so again, just gonna squish that one down. I probably should wait till it's dry, would probably be a good thing, but yeah, they just kind of fold to the back, which is, I think, perfect. It looks fine and then still folds up nicely, and you've got this cool decoration on the back. And there is our cute little used greeting card, flippy doodah thingamajig. So lots of journaling space. We've got a pocket here. You could use another card front to make a journal card to go in there. I didn't grab out another one, so I'm going to skip that, but you could put a nice journal card, or you could make it with anything. Doesn't need to be a greeting card. I think this will go really nicely with the cover of the giveaway journal, which is a patchwork one. So it's very eclectic in terms of lots of different patterns and colours. So I think this will work really nice. So I will put something in there for the journal. You could add extra pockets, tuck spots, whatever you like, but I'm going to leave that as journaling space. And then let's have a look at my prototype. So this is my prototype. I only used 3 cards for this, for the construction of the journal itself. There's our tabs. So this was the one that's a little bit too tight. So this one buckles when you flatten it out. This one doesn't. But I think I'd rather have this than this tight, because you can, when you close it, you can feel it pulling and just a bit of resistance at that point. This is a floral one as well. So tabs, see how I've staggered them. This one's up, this one's down a bit, and this one's a really tall card. And then I made a boo-boo when I was covering the back of this, and instead of putting the paper bag design down first to the back of the card, I stuck it so that the design was face up, and I ended up with the paper bag design down here. And it was okay, like it was fine, I could have left it, but I ended up just cutting a bit of scrapbook paper to cover over that design, because it just comes to about there. It was that sort of bit was covered in the pattern of the paper bag. So I just did scrapbook paper, made a little side pocket there, and then used another greeting card, and this one's more like paper. Card front, cut it to size to fit, and just tuck that in there as a journaling card. So that's my prototype there. And yes, this is a little tight, but it actually still works fine as more journaling spot. This one is quite tall, so bear in mind the size of your cards as well for your journal. So let's just go to a page here. So this one is basically the size of my pages in height. So for this one I would need to clip it in, most likely. Possibly pop it in a pocket, but I think it might stick up a bit much, but probably paper clip it. Whereas this one is shorter. You could even glue it onto a page. Instead of covering this back one, you could glue it onto a page and just have it as an extra flip out. But I do like the idea of it being removable, so this size one could easily go in a belly band or in a pocket or a tuck, no problem at all. And it's nice and sturdy. You could take it out, take it in your handbag, and then pop it back in your journal at the end of the day or the end of your holiday, whatever. So there we go. There is Trash Craft Tuesday on how to use some used greeting cards in your journaling. Super fun. Great way to use all those beautiful designs that we receive for birthdays and Christmas and, you know, anytime we receive a card. And I collect them. I've got the ones that we receive ourselves. My mum gives them to me. My in-laws give them to me. Friends down the road give them to me. So I was getting to the point where it's like, I've got to do something because this is ridiculous. So here's my something. I hope you enjoyed the project. I thank you so much for watching and remind you to stay tuned for the announcement of the giveaway and how that's going to run. Super excited to give one lucky viewer a beautiful journal to keep worldwide, but more on that in another video. Have a wonderful day, my friends. Take care. I shall see you again soon. Bye for now.